Hey y'all, welcome to part 2 of Snapper number 2 restoration project, where I need to pull this motor off and take a closer look inside the engine. So y'all remember the video I did previously when I was trying to decide on what motor I wanted to use for this thing. I mentioned looking inside this motor, inside the spark plug hole, and I didn't see the piston moving up and down like it should. Well, I thought the worst, that it's probably a broken connecting rod on the piston, and this engine's probably going to end up being junk. Well, I found out that's not the reason at all, and it was just another bonehead move by your boy Nick. I wasn't really thinking of what kind of motor I was working with and the design of this engine. So I decided if I can fix this motor and make it run, I want to use it because, like I said, it's the original motor, and I wanted to keep everything as original as possible. So I'm going to remove it from the frame, get it up on the bench, and I'm going to show y'all what I found. So got all the motor mount bolts loose, and man, this little engine is heavier than it looks. It's a single cylinder engine, but this thing's pretty heavy. So I had to use my legs on this one. So you can see all that crud that was up under that motor, but if you saw my short video, I'm gonna clean all that up, change this little friction disc under here, change all these parts underneath, and have this thing looking good when I put this motor back on. Got it here on the bench top, and got to figure out how to get this disc off, and the muffler, get that loose, and so I can take the head off and get a look inside. So right here, old Nick's just gonna get his little drill and remove all the head bolts and pop this plate off and pop the head off and get a better look at the piston and valves underneath. So here I have the head off, and now you can see the large piston and the two small valves there. And I'm turning the flywheel just like I was doing when it was actually mounted on the frame. And you can see clearly that the piston's moving up and down, and the valves are opening and closing like they should. So nothing was broken inside. So great. So I figured I already got the engine off, so I might as well have a look at the bottom of it and take the sump cover off. Just gonna take this disc off, take the pulley off the bottom, and open up the bottom of the engine and have a look inside and see what it looks like.
So this P87, it should be fuel injected, I believe. Tailgate not rusted through completely, just comes out a little bit. Never liked these tailgates where you have to roll the window down.
So I got the bottom cover off, and I was happy to see that there's no plastic pieces in the bottom. So the cam, the governor, everything is all metal, which I like to see, so I don't have to worry about no plastic pieces breaking off. So everything looked intact here. Everything was pretty much clean and looked like it was all there. Had a little bit of sludge, a little bit of shavings, which is pretty normal for an engine this age. So yeah, everything was looking good. So I was happy to see that everything was intact. So now I'm going to pull off this carburetor, and remember in my previous video, the owner prior had replaced the carburetor with a new one, but it's been sitting out for probably years, just out in the rain, so there's no telling what it looks like inside. So I thought I'd just go ahead and pull it off while I got the engine off, take a look at it, and see if I'm going to be able to use this carburetor or end up getting a new one for it. Yeah, man, that ain't gonna happen. I mean, I pulled off this carburetor and it was full of rust. I mean, the whole thing was just junk. I mean, the float bowl here was full of rust. I mean, there's just no way that I'm gonna get this thing cleaned up and make it work again. So yeah, I'm gonna have to buy another one. So y'all had remembered in my first video, I thought that the connecting rod to the piston was broke because I didn't see the piston moving up and down when I was looking through this here spark plug hole. Whereas you saw in the video, when I pulled this head, the valves, intake and exhaust, and the pistons are all moving like they should be. What Nick failed to think about, that Nick, this is a flathead engine, okay? So sometimes these spark plug holes can be offset. They're not directly over the piston like I was expecting to. So obviously, with that being offset, when I looked down the spark plug hole, I was looking actually between the exhaust and the intake valve right there. I couldn't even see the piston. So that one's on Nick, my bad. I mean, what are you gonna do? It happens. So now I'm gonna clean everything up. Went on Amazon, ordered a new head gasket. Out with the old, in with the new. They match up, no problem. And went on Amazon and ordered me another carburetor because this one was trash. You might have saw in a video, this thing's rusted all the way through. I mean, there's nothing I can do with it. And for 18 bucks, can't go wrong. Perfect match. The only difference is this new one on the choke has a thumb latch where you can operate it manually, or you can just use the hose like the other one had, the old one had, and use the linkage, which what I'm gonna do. But that's the only difference is this one has a little manual thumb latch. So 18 bucks, Amazon, you can't go wrong. If it works, I'm going for it, period. So since this is the original engine, I still want to do a will it run video. So get everything cleaned up, install all the new parts, mount it back temporarily back on the snapper body, because we just want to see if this engine's going to run. And then I'll have to pull the engine back off and do some work to the body and paint and all that stuff. But if this original engine starts up and runs, boy, woo, wrap. All right, guys, I have got the motor mounted back on the snapper frame. Only put 2 mountain bolts in there. It's supposed to have 4, but I just want to see if this thing will start and run. Got the gas tank back on, and when I put the hose on, this one was leaking. So I put a new end on that with the filter. got some oil in it. And originally I was going to just use the pull start, but this starter clutch is locked up. It won't budge. So I can't use that until I can get that freed up. So I'm gonna use the battery start on it. But man, let me show you this wiring. When you buy a piece of equipment from somebody and they've gone through it and wires just hanging everywhere, it's just a mess. For example, you see these two wires here? They go up to a switch on this gear shifter here to make sure you have this thing in neutral before you start it so it won't just take off on you. So those have been disconnected. There's also a set of wires that goes to the blade engagement that's been cut. So I'm sure that switch doesn't work. So those have been disconnected. And let me show you what I had to do for wiring. Again, I just want to see if this thing will start. So I broke out my 12-volt tester, my continuity tester, and let me see if I can explain what I went through to rig this thing up. The solenoid is good, which is just a big switch. So it's good. So I've got positive running to one side of the solenoid. I've got, on the other big side, I've got the starter wire going to the starter over here. And this is a 4-pole. I don't know if I just mentioned that. But anyway, I've got a ground on one pole. It's grounded. And my other switch, well, this is a 12-volt switch. I've got a clamp on it just temporarily, just to see if it'll work, running down to this switch here that I took off of it, all done with clamps, just to do a push button to see if it'll start. And the other side of the clamp is going to 12 volts on the battery coming from the switch. I've also rigged up a shutoff switch, which I've got taped to the ground wire. So this wire is running to the coil. So hopefully once I hit the switch that away, it will kill the power going to the coil and this thing will cut off. So yeah. So this wiring is borderline sketchy, to say the least. So your application might be different. So don't be going to say, oh, that's the way Nick had his wired up, and I don't understand what happened. And that's how. Hey, do it your way. This is the way it worked for me, but your application may be different. All right, I checked and it does have spark. So I'm starting this for the first time. This ain't no trickery. I haven't started this thing to see if it will run before y'all. I'm starting it for the first time, or trying to start it for the first time. So let's see what we got. Uh-oh, it's not starting. Oh, chill. Uh-oh, got something. It might be a runner. I don't know, guys. I think it's a runner, but obviously we got something else going on with it. Let's give it a shot of the starter fluid, see what happens. Fine then. Switched out the spark plug and fixed the air gap on the coil, and then see what we got. All right, contact. I know what's going on with the starter. It's old. All right, that little battery I had trying to start it ran out of power, so I went and got my jump pack and see if I got a little bit more power to it with that started. All right, contact. Obviously my governor link is not hooked up right because it's trying to run pretty much wide open, but she's a runner. That's what I'm talking about. So there it is, y'all. The engine is a runner. It is the original engine, so that's good. That's another original piece we can keep with the snapper. So we're gonna have some more videos to come as we go through this thing. I think the end problem was I didn't have enough battery power to start that thing. That little battery that I had on the shelf just wasn't enough to kick the starter over. So once I put my jump pack on it, that did it. So yeah, we in there. So come on, y'all know what to do. Go and hit that like button, share this video out, y'all subscribe. Look out here working hard in this garage, getting these things running. Man, kind of like my nose is with this weather. Man, in North Carolina, man, it's 70 degrees one day, and the next minute it's cold as ice. So anyway, I don't know what you're gonna do. But anyway, that's all for the snapper for today. We got us a running engine. See y'all in the next one. It's on.